Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have some stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Before we start, thank you again to everybody who has joined the Karma Crew. I have a new exclusive Karma Crew video coming out on Monday. If you'd like to join the Karma Crew, click the join button down below any one of our videos on YouTube or click the link at the top of the description down below. Alright, on to today's stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Buffalo Agreeable 372. Finally, a real malicious compliance story. I'll have to keep some details a bit vague. I work for a just-in-time company and was on work assignment in Japan. They had some strange approaches to prioritizing which safety items needed focus. They also have a very specific method and format for problem solving. This is important later. If you've ever driven in Japan, you know that some roads wouldn't pass as a cart path most anywhere else, and most have very deep gutters that will crap-max your car right quick. My company car was a gorgeous 87 horsepower Vitz. I still miss it sometimes. When idling in drive, it hovered around 22 to 25 kilometers per hour. Sorry Americans, I don't know how many hogcocks to the melted Velveeta it is in freedom units. The speed limit on the site was 20. The speedo for the Vitz was in the center console, and the driveway through the site is quite long and narrow. I couldn't watch both easily. One day, they had safety team members out in a literal speed trap. I got pulled over. Driving infractions are pretty serious, and I am Gaijin, so they lost it on me. They flagged down lots of people, but only I got yelled at. I had to write a shame letter and do a problem-solving report for root cause and countermeasure. Sure. My reasoning was I couldn't watch the speedometer and the narrow lanes at the same time. The idle speed is too high to maintain safe driving. Countermeasure, my beloved Vitz had a B gear, Jake brake for brake fade on mountain roads. In B, it idled at exactly 10. They loved the report. It was shared with my working group. The next time I was on site, I went directly to my car, got on the lot exit to the winding, narrow, single-lane driveway, and put it in B. There was a huge line of cars behind my idling 10 km per hour Vitz, with the guy directly behind me losing his darn mind. It took forever to get to the gate, although no one was speeding. The next morning, my boss said there were many complaints about the white Vitz driving too slow. I said safety first. And I don't want to risk another speeding ticket at work. He said I didn't have to drive 10 kilometers per hour anymore. Effing nope. Every day I worked on that site, I drove exactly 10 in and exactly 10 out. I feel bad for screwing everyone else over, but if it's serious enough to give me a speeding ticket and a shame letter, then it's serious enough to be diligent about. They made an announcement that the safety Gestapo would limit safety audits to activity on site, and that the activity was a great success in slowing down unsafe drivers. I think that was a tacit approval to go back to the old way. Even then, 10 km per hour in, 10 km per hour out. It became a running joke in my group though. I think they envied the malicious part of the compliance. They wouldn't be so strident against authority as it looks bad. I don't give a crap. They would ask when I was arriving on site, I'd say I'm just pulling in. They would say, I see, we'll see you in 25 minutes. If I ever have to go back there, I will do it again. Safety first. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called the Giacomo1. It says, for others that might be wondering, the Vitz is the JDM name for the Toyota Yaris or Echo. Another commenter down below called Lyndon214 said, the UK also uses miles per hour for road speed, as do several of its overseas territories. Well, OP responded to this one in an edit to the original post, and it says, it has been pointed out that the British and some other places apparently don't use logical or easy units of measure. That being said, in the name of inclusion, I don't know what 25 km per hour is in centuries of colonial theft and brutal subjugation of cultures by a severely inbred family of mega racists per terrible meal is. Okay, I've read this one a couple of times and I keep coming back to the fact that OP said they couldn't look at the speedometer while they were driving down the narrow road. Well, it's not like you need to constantly stare at the speedometer, you just need to glance at it every once in a while. And yeah, being in the middle makes that a bit of a pain in the butt, but if you've been driving for a while and you know how to drive properly, I don't see why that would be a problem. It's fun to maliciously comply and to make everybody else late when they're trying to get into work, but I think it would be just as easy to actually drive the proper speed and still not run into the sides of the driveway. This story comes to us from Unfounded Confidence 9. You want me to provide a good reason for why I want to use my vacation days? Time to trauma dump. So I work in a pretty low stress job, which makes it absolutely hilarious that my boss demands that whenever we take our paid time off, we give a good reason. Like, dude, why do I need to give you a good reason to take my vacation days? They're mine. I'm entitled to take them, to dedicate the time to my new hobby of staring at the ceiling. It's none of your business. Well, I had planned to take a few days off to recharge after a very relatively intense work week. Unfortunately, the boss thought this was a great time to send out a reminder email that if we wanted to take time off, we needed to provide a reason and have it approved. This was a mistake on his part. I went into his office, head hanging low, and started talking about my dad's cancer, how intensive chemotherapy was. I didn't make myself cry, but I was putting that theater class I took in college to good use. I might have even hit him with, and I'm just so used to seeing my dad as this strong, invulnerable guy, but he's just human, you know? And soon, he might be gone. How do you even deal with something like that? Now, by this point, my dad had been cancer-free for years, so this was purely performative, but my boss just looked so uncomfortable, it was great. I wish I could say this caused the boss to send out an email saying we no longer needed to give a reason for our time off, but no such luck. Instead, I just kept coming up with other traumatic life experiences to justify my vacations. I think my grandma died 3 times these past few years, poor woman. I may have to come up with something new for when she actually does die. My boss still gets visibly uncomfortable whenever I come to ask for time off in person instead of via email. It's kind of hilarious to me. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Refuge9. It says, my justification? It's part of my compensation package. It is a benefit, and I am due my paid time off. Anything less is wage theft. You know, there's one good answer for this one when the boss is asking you why you need time off. You need to look them straight in the eyes and say, boss, I've got anal glaucoma. And that's all you need to say. If the boss has heard that one before, they'll understand what you're saying to them. And if they haven't heard it before, there's a good chance they won't question you because it just sounds nasty. And for those of you who have never heard that one before, and I'd be surprised if you haven't, anal glaucoma means I can't see my ass coming into work today. This story comes to us from MainAd7685. Girl boss meeting her boss. I've been working at a poultry farm for about a year now. It's legal for 14-year-olds to work in agriculture in my state, and I was always a hard worker who, in spite of my personal and brief legal troubles, was very productive and intuitive. As a result, I was very well liked by the management. The owner of the farm eventually acquired some more land, and the manager decided to break it down more and appointed me as one of the assistant supervisors of the newly acquired chicken coops. I had this really annoying coworker who was always whining about the patriarchy holding her back and not being paid as much as the other workers. She was just really lazy and spent all her time on her phone. I overheard her trash-talking me to a coworker, saying that she would have gotten the job, but that the owner passed her over because I'm a suck-up. Later that day, she didn't think I had heard her. She asked me for a raise. She thought I was easy prey because I'm young. I planned just to turn her down, but I had a better idea. Unfortunately for her, the guy who got rid of the waste had just moved out, and he earned about $3 to $4 an hour more than the other workers. So, I assigned her to waste duty. We still work together, I'm still her assistant supervisor, but she's gotten real quiet about my management skills. As it turns out, you still don't want to screw over your boss, even if he's 15. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Mistraliosius Mithrax. I probably butchered that. It says, talk crap, get crap. Also, how cool are you that you still technically gave her higher paying work? She can't say you didn't give her what she deserves either way. Laugh out loud. OP responded and said, that's why it's malicious compliance. It feels amazing showing her who's boss and giving her what she wanted at the same time. Is anybody else seeing what I'm seeing in this one? OP says they're 15 and an assistant manager, but people are coming to OP for a raise, and OP's making decisions about where people work? Why does that not seem legit to me? Who in their right mind gives a 15-year-old enough power to put people in different jobs and change the amount of money that they make? That doesn't seem right to me, but I'd love to know what you all think, so if you're on YouTube or Spotify, drop a comment and let me know your thoughts on this story. This story comes to us from Cynical Mage. We need to save hours. This was back about 8 years ago when I worked for the Big Green Store in the UK. We were going through a belt tightening period, sales were down, no recruitment to replace leavers, circling the drain right before we parted ways with Schmalsmart. I'd been sent onto nights to evaluate and fix them, came in for 10 p.m. for a shift start, and immediately got collared by my line manager, who I had a mutual loathing going on with. He rants at me that I have to cut hours, pick a colleague, he doesn't care who, and send them home. I have a little think about it and pull in my 3 little minions. I explain the demands, but I also tell them that I think this is massively unfair, expecting one person to lose an entire shift. So I said that we'd all go home 2 hours early. That'd give them the saved 8 hours. We'd still manage to get most tasks done, and who wouldn't be happy finishing early, right? So that's what we did. Next evening, store manager pulls me in, asks me what the F happened. Morning crew turned up and we were all gone, and had to pull the AM delivery into the chiller by themselves. So I told him my reasoning. Turns out that the night team wasn't meant to be part of where the hours were cut. Seems Mr. Line Manager was trying to hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Free up hours for his shift and also get me in trouble for failing my tasks. What actually happened was that my minions pulled together in solidarity. We nailed our crap, and by all being gone the following morning, we drew full attention to the shenanigans. We got apologies, and he got in trouble. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Equivalent Salary 357. It says, malicious compliance followed by a helping of Fallout. OP responded and said, oh, it was delicious. I'm a very weird manager, in that I'm all about the team, working together, never expecting my guys to do anything I wouldn't do myself. Kick their butts when needed, but I will fight until my last breath when they need protection. Consequently, I end up with a team who have my back, and those guys certainly appreciated my transparency. They outdid themselves that night. We all shared the financial hit, and we all stuck a finger up as a group. Wait a second here, OP says they got apologies. Were they forced apologies by somebody higher up? Because I feel like that boss you had isn't the kind of person that would apologize to you willingly. OP, thank you for being the kind of manager that everybody wants and the kind of manager that everybody needs. There are too many people in management positions that really don't know what they're doing and are just on a massive power trip. Thank you for being one of the ones that is there for your team. This story comes to us from Scarlet Hotface. Turn off every light when you leave the room? Okay. Back when I was in high school, I lived with my extremely frugal aunt while my parents were abroad. She had this obsession with saving on the electricity bill. Fair enough, but she took it to the extreme. One day, she caught me walking out of the kitchen and scolded me for leaving the ceiling light on, even though I was going back in less than a minute. She said she didn't care if I was gone for 30 seconds. When you leave a room, you turn off every single light. Got it. I started turning off lights whenever I leave a room, and soon I got used to it. Later that week, she was cooking in the kitchen, and I was helping her grab ingredients from the pantry, which was technically a separate little room connected to the kitchen. I stepped into the pantry, grabbed the oil, walked out, and turned off every single kitchen light as I exited the room. She shrieked mid-stir like she'd gone blind. "What are you doing? I'm still here." I said, "Oh, I thought you weren't. You said turn off every light when I leave a room, and my muscle memory is already getting used to it." It didn't stop there. Anytime we were in the living room and I got up to use the bathroom, I'd leave her in pitch darkness. Once, she was even watching TV and I just clicked off the power bar on my way out. It took about 4 days of bumping into furniture before she said, "Okay, maybe use common sense." I still turned the bathroom light off every time she used it though, because I wasn't in the room after all. Took a while before my muscle memory returned to normal. So OP, what you're saying in this one is that you were staying with somebody in their home for free and they asked you to shut off lights and you were just a prick about it. A little bit of respect can go a long way, and I kind of sympathize with your aunt saying that the lights need to be turned off because they're left on in my house all the time and I tell my kids to turn them off. Fortunately, most of the lights in this house are LED, so they're not really costing us anything, but it's the principle behind it that you should shut off a light when you leave the room. This story comes to us from Velvet X Glimmer. Hire her no matter what? As you wish. I am part of a small hiring team at my workplace, and I take my position very seriously. Some time ago, we were looking to fill a key role that required someone sharp, organized, and ready to work under pressure. We had a solid shortlist after several interviews, and then my department supervisor pulled me aside. He told me, flat out, to hire one candidate in particular. Not because she was the best fit, but because he wanted me to. I later heard through office rumors that she was an almost girlfriend. Basically, someone he had a thing for and was trying to impress. He said I should, but just make it work, and he will take the heat if needed. I refused at first, showing him her results of the interview. She was one of the least ranked. She was late to the interview, vague answers, couldn't explain basic industry terms. But he wouldn't listen and said it was a direct order. So I did exactly what he asked. I hired her, gave her all the support I could, even offered extra onboarding help. Within a month, she accidentally sent a confidential client file to the wrong company. Then she once approved a purchase order for 10 times the budgeted amount because she obviously didn't read through all those numbers. It was from one wrong to another. We lost a major client over the email slip. Another pulled back on their contract due to delays on her end. When upper management started asking questions, my manager tried to dodge responsibility, but HR already had the hiring records. I made sure all instructions, including his, were documented, which was intentional in case a situation like this came up, and it did. He was resigned within the quarter. She quietly disappeared not long after. Turns out, hiring your crush isn't as cute when the company starts bleeding money. Jumping down to the comments on this one, there's one from a user called Mo Shen. It says, reminds me of my director hiring someone because they go to church. They should be great. And this was after I told them I thought they would be a problem. The person in question was a massive disaster and was fired within 2 weeks. I love how this guy got this girl the job just because he had a crush on her. Like, he totally wasn't thinking with the proper head, if you know what I mean. The fact that they both got fired though just shows that they both weren't really right for that company because he made horrible decisions and she just wasn't right for that job. Alright, I think we'll end this one here. If you enjoyed today's episode, I encourage you to follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really does help us out. If you'd like to join the Karma crew and get exclusive videos, make sure to click the join button down below any one of our videos on YouTube, or click the link at the top of the description down below. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.